Hey folks, this is my quick little dirty review about the METRA Mazda multi-kit for the 84 to 97. So you see there's the number, the 997501. I'm going to run through how to do this for the MX-6 and Mazda 626. I've got a 1991, so pretty much like 89 to 91 I think are pretty much the same thing. But anyway, let's get into this for a quick second here. So I don't waste your time. This is the page about the 88 to 92. That's probably our date range there then. So let's just kind of review this, because this was actually really difficult to figure out and make sense of. So first of all, you'll see these two plates here, and in these two plates it shows B, and it's really kind of hard to see where B is on this pile. So I'm going to grab the other ones. So the other ones look exactly like this. For the right ones, they look like this, and what you do is you grab this piece here, and you see how there's letters there. That's B, and that's B, is the recessed one. So that's what makes it difficult to understand, right? Because you got C, A, B, but the B's kind of like off in the distance and not right beside it, but probably because of this hole. But anyway, so that's B and that's B. And on the instructions, what they do is they tell you to, on the first step here, well, the first step is to disconnect your negative battery and all that stuff for the car. But the second part is to cut and remove all the mounting tabs on bracket SEP 2 except B. So how do you know you got bracket SEP 2? Well, they have a number. As you can see, there's a 1 right there. The other set has a 2 right there. That's the only thing you can tell. The only number on it is the fact that it's 1 or 2 of these bracket plates, of these shaped plates like this. And you want to look for B and then cut these off. So you're probably asking yourself, well, how do you cut these things off, right? So I actually don't need this extra set, and it's not like I have any value out of it, because this set's a multi-set. These adapters are used for something else. So I'll show you right now how you actually remove these, or at least how I did it fairly easily. So what you do is you take these, well, this is just a pair of cutters, right? And you take those and you just wrap them around there, and then basically just pry those off. And if you wiggle them, they seem to pop off fairly cleanly. And then what I did was I took one of these and then just kind of cleaned off that piece to make it nice and flat. Okay, then the next thing you do, as you can see from the instructions, the next thing after you cut those pieces off, you take this this radio adapter piece, and you screw these small part facing downward to the side of here with 3 screws along the side of there. Okay, so that's gonna basically look like this with these 3 screws, 1, 2, 3, into the side. And you want to make sure this obviously is facing inward. It's kind of obvious, but those are the kind of places where the deck sits on top of that. So yeah, so let's have a look at the finished product here, because I'll show you kind of what it looks like here. I've got a nice Sony stereo mounted into this thing. There it is there, all completed. And I'll tell you a couple of secrets. The only reason I'm making this video is because it took me hours to figure this out. And I hope it doesn't take the next person hours to figure out how to put this together. So in the back of this, hopefully you'll be able to see this. I'm going to rotate this around here. Oh geez, I gotta get that in there. Now, do you see those little tabs sticking down at the top there? There's actually one, what do they call it? One inside there. There's 4 across the top anyways. So there's a plate that kind of looks like this, with these, you know, whether it's flat plastic like that, and, you know, little tabs. And these tabs fit perfectly into those holes. You just push. You have to be really careful, because these will pop off super easy. Take a look at this piece here. They all snapped right off there. There's only 4 on there, and they just snapped off. So that sucks. But this is your delete. And to be honest with you, it came with this, so you could literally just get rid of that area. But I like the idea of having a box there. So you just shove that in there. Hopefully you can see. Oops, forgive me. You can see how those things just push in, and then once that's pushed in, then you just put this piece in, and this just clips in with little clips on the side here. It just kind of pushes in and snaps in, and then you got your pocket, which you can put your CDs or whatever in. So now that thing's left, I think I have to take these off. So I'm going to use that same method. I'm going to use these pliers to just pop those off. But I'm going to double check when I get to the car that I don't need those. I'm pretty sure I don't. Yeah. So and then now you're ready to go to your car, right? So, and obviously wire in the wiring and then just bolt it in. So I'll probably do a video about that too, though. But yeah, so back to the instructions here for a second. So what I've just kind of gone over is, you see, this is actually showing the delete piece there, and I've actually gone and put the pocket part in. So I've got the pocket below the radio. But yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so the next step is that I'm going to be wiring in the plugs. Now you can get these plugs that match up to your factory wiring, so you're not cutting the wires that came out of the car. But I got these from a wrecker, but you can obviously buy them brand new from METRA or from Amazon or wherever. So what you do is, when you buy these, they come with the wires properly labeled. I don't know if you can probably see, but this one says like right front, for example. You can probably see that pretty clear there. But I mean, the grays and whites will be one set of speakers, and you've got your purples and greens will be another set of speakers, and then your power wires, which is your this will be ground, black. Red will be constant power. Orange will be your temporary power. I believe gray is illumination, one of the two. Either way, there's keyed power and there's full-time power, and full-time power keeps your presets, so your radio stations and such. So we'll be using that, like a wiring harness, to marry up to that, and I'll be hooking the stereo up to this end, and we'll be using butt connectors. Now, some people are electrical tape fans, and you know what? Each to their own, right? I'm a huge fan of these, but if you're an electrical tape fan, go at it. The best way possible is to solder. So who knows, maybe I'll do some soldering instead, but either way, we're going to use some kind of connector. And then they highly recommend a specific type of butt connector, B-U-T-T, for your ground wire, because you just attach one of these. But either way, we're going to be hooking all those up. I'm not going to bother posting the wiring diagram. Those are readily available online. There's 100 copies of it. But when I get to actually putting it into the car, I'll do a little video on that. Okay, so this is the inside of the Mazda 626, 1991 Mazda 626 LX. I'm starting to pull this thing apart, and I made a mistake, but I'm going to save you guys from making the same one. So first of all, once you take your ashtray out, look, I've got crap in mine, receipts and stuff. Once you take that out, there is a screw hole there and a screw hole there. You take those two screws out, and then you pull up on here. As you can see, it's attached by snaps, and that'll come that part off. The second part you should know is that the bottom part, which screws onto there, as you can see, screws on there and to there, is hidden behind the lip of this little cubby. So it's basically behind this, and this is only held on by these clips on the side here. You can see on the side. So you can imagine if you got in there with a screwdriver and you pried this out first, just get your screwdriver either around here or around the top of here and just pulled this out, then you could get at those two bottom screws, grab those two top screws, and this whole thing should just pull out. And then and I'll start into the next phase in a second here. Yeah, so if you're somebody likes things done the right way the first time, and you're the kind of person that doesn't really do a lot of custom fab work, this whole idea of installing a single or double din, you know, single or double height deck might not be your thing. There's the METRA kit that supposedly is for this vehicle. Here's the original pocket. My door broke off, unfortunately. The hinges, well, shoot, they're over 30 years old, so they just kind of broke. You can see right there, you know, compared to this one, which isn't broken. So I just won't be able to use it, unfortunately. So that means that this is the pocket METRA gave me, which is just not actually tall enough. So I'm going to need to cover up the space that remains below there, unfortunately. So one thing I wanted to make video note of for anybody who tries to do this themselves and wishes somebody, you know, made a recording, it had these things on here from factory. I think these were to hold in that box, and so we're gonna have to take those off. So we're gonna take those off, and then what we're gonna do is I'm going to try and get this in there as cleanly as possible, and then I'm gonna fab a cover for the bottom. And unfortunately, I used to have this humongous spot, which was originally designed for cassettes. I'm gonna have a slightly smaller pocket and a blank, and this pocket is meant for CDs, but you know, who knows what we'll actually use it for. Maybe thumb drives or something, but you get the idea. So it's just more interesting things. As you can see, since I didn't show this in the last one, I had to get a different wiring kit. I got this from Canadian Tire, but yeah, I'm sure you can order them online. It comes for 2 different types of Mazda. This is the connector I'm using, and this is my fab job here. So I'd say it's pretty clean, right? My ground and all the wiring needed for the stereo. So it's a pretty clean operation. One other good thing about actually doing it this way, where I'm actually also replacing the stock speakers so as not to blow them, because the Sony I picked here has got a 55 watt amp in it, is that these were only 25 watts. But anyways, that's not the point I was trying to bring up. The cool thing is this stereo came with the hands-free, which I highly recommend these days, because if you're driving around, you don't want to, you know, be holding your phone to your head. It's illegal and you can hit stuff. So anyway, this is obviously a headphone plug into the back, and when you wire these in, you try and route them in through there and then up through here. It's hard to do when you haven't got the car apart. So I've got the lower shield off there. I'm going to be able to route it up and through here and maybe rest it somewhere up here near my phone mount. So yeah, hope that makes sense. There's the dash lights, all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, so that's where we're at in the project. I don't have as much time as some YouTubers do for these kind of projects, so I'm just going to do another quick view of this before I call it a day and get back to my real job. There's the driver's side, and let's kind of go through the screws. There's one there, and there's one on either side of the steering wheel neck, and there's some along the bottom. You can see them from above, actually. There's one there and down below the bottom. So anyways, you'll notice also that there's a bunch of plugs in behind. This is for features that the car didn't come with, and this one's obviously the speaker wire. So yeah, maybe we should pay attention here to how these prongs are set up. So you'll notice that okay, so how can we get our orientation? So this is the clip piece of this, and from the clip side, the right side is the orange wire and the left is the black wire, black and blue. Yeah, so there we have that. We're going to plumb those in, and then we'll wrap up the deck install over here, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so I'm going to give a project update. I think I probably forgot to film some pieces, but you haven't missed a whole lot. So I took this cover off completely. As you can see here, it's still not fully attached. I'm still playing with that, but I wired in everything in the back with the connectors, plugged it in, and I've shoved that in there and temporarily placed this over top because I had places I needed to go. So it's just sitting there, but I am planning to properly plumb that in and fix the box below, but that's just on the way. In the meantime, I've started to replace the standard 4-inch speakers that this car comes with, which, so let's talk about this for a second. So when you open the glove box, I'll just do this right here for a second here. You'll notice there's, oh, good job, Dan. There's a screw welt there, screw spot there. So, and then, so you can see those. And then there's 3 along the bottom. I don't know if you need to see those. And focus the camera. All right, 3 along the bottom, 1, 2, 3, and then 1 on the side there, that you can see right there. All right, on the other side of this car, we've got the same thing. There's 1 on either side of the steering column. There's a whole bunch along the bottom, and 1 along the far left side. And so that all pulls down, and you kind of have to wriggle it around the neck of the steering wheel. And then inside you find the speaker, which rests in these little holes like so. See, I just unscrewed this one, so it's already out. The standard one in there is a 25 watt 4 ohm with this funky plug, so we're gonna have to convert our speakers to that funky plug. Meanwhile, back in the office, so these are those kickers I mentioned that I bought for the Mazda, and this is the speaker that came out of the Mazda. Crutchfield said that this said that this car came with 4-inch speakers. Well, take a look at the speaker that came out of this right there, and then take a look at this speaker. Man, you can't even see in perspective in the video the difference, can you? I wonder if I can just kind of put them on top here, and then I'll just do it over top. Look at the difference in size. A little concerned? Yeah, I was a little concerned too. But here's what really matters. See, what we're really talking about is the speaker mounting holes. I've already tested the kickers for sound, by the way, and they sound phenomenal. It's great. Looking forward to it. So, what really matters, of course, is the screw mounting holes. And the good news is, as you can see, I'll just kind of try and show you that for the camera. Oh, cripes. See if I can line those up. Well, anyway, the point is that they line up nicely, so we're good to go. Okay, guys, it's a little late at night here, but I just wanted to kind of go over the next phase in installing the new 4-inch kickers. And those look pretty cool, right? I don't know if the lighting is going to work for this, but I'm going to try and show you something I'm doing that I think is going to make this easier, and I thought it'd be cool to share it with you guys. So these are, what do they call it? Quick disconnects. They're just like a spade. They're just a flat-ended connector, as you can see inside there. And so what we have in the original connector on the speaker side were these, for lack of a better term, male spade connectors you can see inside the speaker. Now, what those have is 2 forks sticking out, and of course on the car end we have a plug, right? Well, I don't want to disturb the factory wiring. I don't want to cut into the factory wires and then, you know, be using electrical tape and all that other kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I've cut off with these side cutters here. I've crimped on and cut off these, and I've cut half of the spade off, as you can see. So if you look inside the hole here, I'm just going to try and give you a bird's eye view. What I've done is, if you look down in the hole here, you'll see that my spades are the same width as these prongs in here. So there's one, and here's the other. So you can see those are literally the exact same width, or just slightly smaller, but these are literally half prongs. So what I can do now is I can shove those spades in there, and then of course wrap a bit of electrical tape around them, not using the electrical tape to actually hold the wires together, but just to kind of provide a little bit of insulation from condensation and what do you call that, oxidization of the wires. So these 2 spades will go into the factory wiring. Because they're set up like that, I can make sure that when they go in, they'll be actually to the correct polarity. The one with the line and the one without a line directly in there. so that, because you'll notice the new speakers do not have that same kind of connector, the factory wiring connector. Okay, so without actually putting the ashtray in, which I still have, this is what a install looks like without that bottom part covered. So I do have a plate that came with the METRA kit. I'm going to try there, and if that covers it, cool. But if it doesn't, that doesn't really go too many places. It could even be used for storage exactly like that. Who knows? But anyway, so aside from the fact that I snapped this because I didn't know about these extra screws, which you know about because I mentioned in my video, what you should know is that this goes on once this deck piece is pushed in all the way and screwed in behind here with the 4 gold screws. These 2 screws here, well, first of all, you snap the top in, and these 2 screws here really tighten the top part, and these 2 really tighten the bottom part, and it actually fits in quite nice. So that's actually going to wind up not being too bad. You know, not looking too bad as far as a deck install goes. And as you can see, I've got my mic there hanging out the back, so I'm going to wrap that in under the steering wheel later, and we'll be called that a day.